Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I've got nothing funny and witty to say today. Situation in Los Angeles is kind of dire and it's a tragedy and it's nothing to kid around about. We're going to talk about it first today here on Techstrong Gang. Hey, everyone. It's Alan Shimel here for Techstrong Gang. Happy Tuesday to you. As I mentioned, we're going to kick things off with a little bit of coverage of what's going on, the tragedy going on in Los Angeles. And, we have folks here in Techstrong and Futurum who've had to evacuate, who are worried about their family's precious belongings, their very home. Are they going to have a home to stay in? So it really is crazy. We're going to talk a lot about it today, but let me introduce you to our gang members to discuss that and more today. But before I do that, I wanted to mention one other thing. If you're not watching Predict 2025 today, head on over there. If you're watching this on Tuesday, head over there. It's on right now, Predict 2025. You could always catch Techstrong Gang on demand later. You can watch Predict later too, but there's some amazing sessions on Predict, including one with my friend Stephen Foskett. So let me kick things off with our friend Stephen Foskett. Of course, Stephen is the founder and CEO of Tech Field Day, a sister Futurum business unit here with Techstrong. Stephen, it's great to see you. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Looking forward to a baseball park tour with my friend John Swartz.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I hear Pittsburgh is in Cleveland are the two best stadiums, right, Stephen?
Let's hit them all, baby. Let's hit them all.
Okay, let's just do
maybe
that.
we could do like a show on Techstrong for that. John and Stephen on the road.
We could talk for hours.
Yeah, that would be it from, comedians in cars. Stephen, welcome. I mentioned John Swartz. He has left his kingdom of Silicon Valley, and he's actually in Pittsburgh today, of all things.
Yes, I am. I'm really happy and looking forward to seeing some robotics at Carnegie Mellon, among other places. I'm meeting with a lot of folks here, and I think it'll be a lot of fun and quite educational and kind of segue into our first segment.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Thanks for joining us. Joining us, well, she's home, it looks like, so no great story here, but it's our newest gang member. She was the newest gang member. We announced her last week. She's actually worked, though, with Stephen and the Tech Field Day and Gestalt IT folks for many years. She's working on our Techstrong AI site, among other things. It's Sulagna Saha. Did I get it right?
Saha.
Right. All right, pretty close. I'll keep working on it. Sulagna, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Good to be back on the show.
Good to have you. Joining us, we got a full house. It's good to have a full house back here in the Boca studio. On my far left, the guy with the ponytail and the beard. He's a future VP analyst. He came here to warm up, he says, from native Colorado, where it's snowing in single digits. And it's supposed to go down to, what did you say, minus 17?
15.
Minus
crazy
15.
Number over MLK weekend.
Mitch Ashley. Hey, Mitch, good to have you here, man.
It's nice to be in defrost mode.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Visit.
It's good for you. I'm glad to have you here. Joining Mitchell and I here, the lady in the middle. She is our sustainability and Eco Insights editor and analyst, Bonnie Schneider. Hey, Bonnie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Great to be here, Alan.
Yes, thanks for joining us and adding a little class to the whole operation.
Yes.
Mitchell and I here,
We
need
need
it.
use it for sure.
Yeah. All right, gang members, let's jump into this. I want, Sulagna, John, you guys had an interesting little piece about how tech, I want to say, is helping to fight fires, but I don't want to be that optimistic, but it's certainly being applied to help fight these fires. What do we got?
Well, you're right, Alan. That's a good way of putting it. They're trying to help with drones, robots that are remote controlled that can go into places where humans can't to help fight or at least find out what's going on in certain buildings that are ablaze. We have sensors that are all around the place in forests, in areas that are susceptible to fire. We've got actually there's satellite systems in use. There are a lot, as I mentioned, drones. There's a lot of apps. There's one called Watch Duty, which offers updates on active fires and crews fighting them, the weather conditions, and push notification alerts. There have been efforts by some of the social media companies like Amazon and Meta to team up with government agencies. They have been doing this for a while to help the state anticipate where people will evacuate, so counties and states can provide them with housing, medical supplies, and food. The Department of Homeland Security Science and Technology Directorate has been working with state and local fire agencies and private businesses to develop technologies. There's all these efforts, and yet this is something that almost feels, I'm not gonna use the word futile, but it's very frustrating because as essential and necessary as this all is, we're really at the mercy of climate change, which has led to these record temperatures around the world. Oceans are unusually warm. I mean, we basically, and Bonnie can go into this much better than I could. We've reached this era, this dangerous era of storms, floods, and fires. So it is essential that these technologies be put to use. But at looking at the scale of where this fire is, where these fires are, versus the technology that's in place, it seems kind of like a losing battle and utterly frustrating, but at least we are making efforts to help people get away from the danger. I'm not sure how effective we will be in the long term in terms of preventing these types of things. There is technology that preemptively looks or smells things before they become smoke. There are a number of companies working on this. We've written about this over the last several months. But again, this is a really horrific situation, which we're going to see more examples of, not just in California, but in other states. And it's just an ongoing battle and something we're going to have to face and stomach for years to come.
Sulagna, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with John. Tech is definitely playing a small but pivotal role in the wildfire suppression. AI is obviously being used to detect and predict the fire for any kind of analysis and overall guiding the efforts. Drones and satellites are used to survey the area, track the fire progression. IoT and apps are being used to spread situational awareness and for first responders to communicate better and improve response times. But it actually all comes down to the how effectively we are able to control the fire. And with climate change taking on and getting worse every day, it's really a losing battle unless we do so. I wish there was a technology for that, but unless we can fight that, I think it's going to be pretty harsh for the people living there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with both what you said, and with the climate change, some of the issues are that even if a fire is on track, they could say, okay, this is where it's located. Fires create their own weather, and that's one of the reasons that makes them unpredictable in which way they'll go from there, and how the wind will move the embers and flames. But also in terms of climate change, the intensity of these extreme weather events, that's been ratcheting up. I was just looking at the records for 2024 versus now. The problem is every event that we have is amplified and intensified. We saw hurricane force winds with this fire. So unfortunately, that's the pattern that we're moving towards, where we're going to see more intensity with these events.
It's a combination of things,
Bonnie,
right? It is the wind intensity. It's also the amount of fuel available because of climate change.
Exactly. Record rains last year and then a drought this year. It was not a good situation for California.
Reach a wind level where the planes can't fly. So now you've lost one of your biggest battles, your weapons of battling this.
Definitely.
The severity is so incredible. I mean, when you look at, there was a chart, I think it was on CNN or MSNBC, that showed the number of major fires just in Southern California alone, and that have been tracked since 1937 or thereabouts. And about 80% of them had happened since 2021. And you say with the events in the climate change situation that we're in, I think it's just going to ratchet up. So I guess I don't know, Bonnie. Is there? I'm curious. Is there something like predictive analysis or any type of AI type of tool that
Yes, I mean,
we
there
could
definitely
use?
is, and I did some reports on it for EcoTech Insights. We talked about the drones. That's one way of getting an idea of where these fires may start, and the modeling has improved overall for where I remember going to Boulder to NCAR where they do a lot of weather prediction and modeling, and it's improving. But the problem again is that you have to factor in that the intensity of climate change. So the massive scale of particularly the Palisades fire. I mean, that's why you're seeing these firefighters come in from multiple different countries and different areas, just because it is just so large and so intense. And unfortunately, as we're looking at Tuesday, Wednesday weather, we're looking at more fire danger with the winds.
I wanted to quickly jump in here on one of the one of the apps that you guys led with in that story, the Watch Duty app. This thing has been absolutely incredible. Kudos to the people who created it. Kudos to the people, to making it free. And it shows that the power that tech can have to really help people on the ground. So essentially, they're crowdsourcing information from, basically any source they can. They're organizing it and collecting it into a special purpose application. I mean, it's kind of sad that we need a wildfire tracking application, but we do. And it's become, as of today, the #1 free app in the iOS and Google App Store, surpassing something called ChatGPT, which I'm not familiar with. But the Watch Duty app has really rocketed to the front. And from what I'm hearing, my friends in the Bay Area and in LA and in the rest of California are saying that this has become sort of the most well-known app. Everyone has it. Everyone's using it. Everyone's tracking the progress of the fires and air quality and figuring out whether they need to evacuate. There's even been situations where they've gotten false reports of fires, and they've used this app to refute those and to make sure that they're getting accurate information. That to me shows what tech and what the app economy can do.
Yeah, it's been downloaded, I think, at least 1.5 million times, as you mentioned, its use, Stephen. And it's also, when it all comes down to is the people are much more important than the property. I mean, as hollow as that might sound, it is true. I mean, in a sense, the safety of people above everything else and what we can do to help them or keep them informed is so crucial in these types of situations, because this thing is moving so fast. It's become so large and devastating, and the forecast, as Bonnie mentioned, doesn't look like we have much relief in sight.
This is where I think disaster robots are especially game changers. They can navigate any terrain, they can douse fires, they can rescue people under dangerous conditions, and that I think can save a lot of first responders from harm and risk. And many firefighters serving in the state prison too have been deployed to battle the blazes. They're paid less than $10 a day and $1 extra for responding to active emergency situations. So using tech is absolutely imperative and yeah, helpful.
This is one too where there's an intensity level that you reach in a hurricane, a firestorm, tornado, whatever it is, or earthquake, of which you can't do anything about, right? It is just going to overtake. So it's as much about response as well as it is prevention. So you're going to have to worry, kind of just like security, right? You
Yeah.
have to worry
Yeah.
about
Again,
both
the same
sides of
thing
that.
earlier. Steve, I think, Stephen, you mentioned the Watch Duty app. If you just want to go to the website, it's watchduty.com. Is that right, Stephen?
I think it's watchduty.org.
.org.
But yeah, and it's actually available as a web app as well if you don't have your phone handy.
That's great.
Yeah. Look, I wish there was a magic wand we could wave here, but one of the biggest problems I think we have as a society is we're always looking for simple solutions to complex problems. And climate change and its effects on weather and fire and flood and pestilence and the four horsemen of the apocalypse are complex issues and problems that there are no simple fixes and answers for. In the meantime, thoughts and prayers sounds hollow, but our hearts go out to everyone in the Southern California area who is dealing with this calamity. And maybe I'm always a big believer in tech can make the world a better place. Maybe there is something that'll pop up that can help them here. Anyway, we're going to take a break here on Techstrong Gang today. We're going to come back, and Bonnie has a piece on promises being made to reduce all that plastic that winds up in the ocean and all of that microplastic stuff. You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hey everyone, it's Sunny.
And Cher.
Ladies and gentlemen, tech enthusiasts and future gazers, gather round. The biggest, boldest, most mind-blowing predictions for 2025 are coming your way at the Predict 2025 virtual event on January 9th.
Oh, Sonny, you're predicting something again. Last time you tried this, you said Laserdiscs were the future. How'd that work out for you?
Hey, Cher. Not every prediction's a hit, but that's why we've got the real experts this time. Top analysts, visionaries, and tech leaders sharing what's going to rock our world in 2025.
So no Sonny predictions this time? No flying toasters making a comeback?
Very funny, Cher. But seriously, we're talking AI breakthroughs, cybersecurity game changers, the future of DevOps, cloud innovations, and so much more.
And what about my favorite prediction, a smart mirror that tells you how fabulous you look every morning? That's real innovation.
You're already ahead of the tech, Cher. But if you want to hear the really big stories in tech for 2025, you've got to tune in on January 9th. The event kicks off at 8:45 a.m. Eastern and runs until 2:30 p.m.
And the best part, it's all virtual. No stuffy conference rooms, no long commutes. Just grab your coffee, your laptop, and join us from anywhere in the world.
You know what else? It's not just predictions. It's insights, strategies, and a whole lot of fun.
Well, Sonny, if this event is as good as you say, maybe they'll finally name a technology after you, like the Sonny 2.0, predicting your jokes before you tell them.
That's a good one, Cher. But the real joke is if you're missing out on this. So don't miss Predict 2025.
That's right. Mark your calendars, January 9th, 8:45 a.m. Eastern. Be there or you'll miss the biggest scoop on the future of tech.
See you at Predict
2025.
Be there.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Techstrong Gang. Well, we're talking about promises made. Are they promises kept? It's interesting when you look back over the past few years, the major tech companies targeted 2025 for the year 100% plastic free. And some of these companies are already achieving this goal, like Google, for example, announced last year, hey, we're ahead of schedule. We did it. But others still are not quite there. Maybe they're 99%. But all of the big tech says they are on target. And this is the year we're going to see no more plastic when it comes to packaging, which can make a big difference in when it comes to fighting the battle of keeping our water clean and landfills less filled with plastic. So I took a closer look at 3 companies and seeing what they promised and where they are now. Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie Schneider with your EcoTech Analyst Insights. 2025, that's the year that all tech giants promised that they'd eliminate all plastic packaging. Well, now that we're here, let's see how they're doing. Leading the charge is Google, who's already crossed the finish line ahead of schedule. Their Pixel phone, Fitbit, and Nest packaging are now completely 100% plastic-free. Through Google's paper-based material, they've decreased their carbon footprint in transport. Apple is racing to meet their 2025 target. iPhone packaging has reached 99% plastic-free status. But there is a reason for optimism: fiber-based packaging. Apple is on track to meet their goal. Meanwhile, Samsung's Galaxy for the Planet initiative faces its moment of truth this year. Samsung has already made significant strides. For example, check out the Samsung Galaxy S24. It comes in a box lined with a molded pulp tray made of 100% recycled paper. Samsung, though, is still working to replace some plastic components in their packaging. For tech giants, it's a sprint to the finish line to deliver on their 2025 environmental promises. So some of the materials that these companies are using really shows that they're implementing their own technological skills in solving problems. For example, one that hasn't completely been implemented but is seriously being looked at is seaweed as a substitute. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes through. What's been happening now is really companies are, like Google, is changing the type of paper that they use, people using pulp paper, for you've probably seen that with packaging. So the innovation is here, it's coming, but I think in the coming years, even after we achieve plastic-free 2025, it's going to get even more interesting and different in terms of types of materials we wouldn't necessarily think. One of them I mentioned in the piece, or maybe I didn't mention, but I was thinking about mentioning it, was Dell had tried something with mushroom fiber for packaging. Really? Now, they didn't stick with it because it turned out it was very expensive and it was a little bit difficult to massive produce and scale. But look, it shows ingenuity that they're trying to think out.
I mean, I would think hemp.
Yeah.
Hemp's an easy one. But we see it in, I think it's in Whole Foods, actually, and maybe some of the other stores. You know, when you buy your fresh produce, you used to get those plastic bags off the roller and you rip it and open it. By us here, they're using compostable bags now that aren't quite plastic. They're plastic-like, but much more economically, not economically, environmentally friendlier. Look, I get that Google's doing this, and Google's certainly a big company, but they're not. I mean, in terms of the amount of consumer packaging they put out there, pales in comparison to Amazon, right? I mean, and I, full disclosure, I've been an Amazon Prime member for many years, and I usually get at least a delivery every other day from Amazon. But I've seen a tremendous change in their packaging.
Yeah.
You know, more smaller, easier, more lightweight, less plastic, more recyclable or recycled ingredients. And so kudos to them. I think Amazon's done a great job with that.
Seems like they're in a unique position, Bonnie, where they could kind of push those things down their ecosystem partner sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
true.
some incentives to help other people reduce their packaging that uses plastic.
And I always think, well, what is the consumer reaction when they open the box? Like if you get a new iPhone, is that something that consumer appreciates, that they see the
I do.
Yeah.
But you know me, I'm a coastal elite, so ain't whining.
Even I don't care what you think about it.
Yeah, I would say, to Mitch's point, I would love to see Amazon push that further down, because a lot of the things you buy on Amazon, in fact, isn't it more than 50% of the things you're buying on Amazon now are being fulfilled by others? And a lot of that stuff comes still in terrible plastic. Things are being drop shipped from China. All sorts of really negative environmental implications from your shopping experience. And it is so jarring, because when you order something in that Amazon frustration-free packaging that comes in that nice little cardboard container, and it's easy to open, and it's small and lightweight, and it is like night and day. I would love to see them push more, and I think they will push more to their suppliers. On the Apple side, it is really obvious. I just bought one of the new Mac Minis. That's it's 100% made of recycled materials, the cases, and the packaging was all paper. There's no more plastic in there at all. They've even removed the stickers from the package. And as a consumer, the unboxing experience from Apple has always been just bar none, the best. And it still is. They've moved from plastic to paper to cardboard, but their packaging is still pretty dense, pretty solid. I think Apple could maybe even move away from those trademark, really expensive, fully printed packaging. But we'll see if they do. But at least they've gotten rid of the plastic. I always felt terrible. You tear open a new piece of electronics, and it's just a load of plastic. Another company I'll call out, by the way, Seagate. I buy a lot of storage, storage nerd. They used to have everything shipped, wrapped in plastic and blister packs of plastic here, plastic there. They've moved to 100% cardboard packaging as well, which is really nice to see. You open it up, it's no worse. It's just, not something that's going to be sticking around in the environment forever.
Just taking the shrink wrap. I'm in Florida.
You go with shrimp?
Yeah,
Not have
yeah.
a little breakfast.
Good dinner last night. No, the shrimp
You mentioned
wrap.
seaweed, so maybe they got shrimp wrap.
Shrimp
too,
wrap. There you go. The next
Shrimp
big
shells.
innovation.
That would be a good
Moving to plastic, but then also using paper kind of sealed to seal the packaging. So you don't need shrink wrap on that extra plastic layer. Just it can be small incremental changes. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, whole scale.
Look, I think overall we're making progress. I should mention, look, if you didn't catch Bonnie's video that preceded this, it's available on Techstrong TV as well as on EcoTech Insights, Bonnie's portal site, where she has all of her, I don't know, it's dozens and dozens of videos. It's a videos on EcoTech. So if this is the kind of stuff that appeals to you, please go check it out. Bonnie, thank you for that one. That was great.
Great piece.
Let's take a break. We're going to come back for our third segment today. And, do we have a chip war, nation-state chip war on our hands or coming down the pike? You're watching Techstrong Gang.
Modernize your business to fuel innovation and elevate customer experiences. With the Builder Community Hub, AWS and its partner network provide essential tools for transforming applications and infrastructure to fully leverage the cloud. Discover free trials, in-depth demos, and essential resources to empower DevOps engineers and developers to deliver value faster and more reliably. Visit the Builder Community Hub to learn more.
Hey, everyone, we're back. All right. For our third segment today, it's a heavy day of segments. President Biden on the way out the door is readying yet another executive order, this one detailing or around AI chips, GPUs, and whatever may come next, and, prohibiting China's getting their hands on this technology, or trying to prohibit China from getting their hands on this technology. There's a lot we've discussed over the months and weeks here, whether it's from Taiwan to China or what have you. And anyway, NVIDIA, for obvious reasons, is pushing back, and they want a different sort of plan. They'd like to see something else. And, quite frankly, there's been reports China is trying to circumvent this whole area by buying GPUs through third-party countries and bringing them in the back door to the tune of like billions of dollars. Incoming administration promises to be tough on China. Will they extend this, uphold it, rescind it? Stephen, what you follow this area. What do you think?
Well, what precipitated this is a blog post by NVIDIA where they called, it's pretty aggressive. They called the Biden administration rule misguided. And they're trying to preempt this rule by basically saying, hey, Trump is going to be president, new administration, new policies, you shouldn't enact policies. Man, I find this whole thing completely disingenuous. Number one, Biden's still president for another week. And as last thing I heard, until you're the president, you don't get to make foreign policy and economic policy decisions. Number two, to have NVIDIA say that the Trump administration is going to have a radically different policy on exports to China seems like maybe they weren't in the U.S. during the first Trump administration, because Trump was very aggressive on China. And obviously, he didn't stop exporting AI chips to China in 2016, because that really wasn't a thing. But he did try to block other exports to China. And so to have them think that the policy under new Trump administration is going to be radically different is just doesn't ring true to me. But the big thing, as I've said for a long time, I am not a fan of these export restrictions because, frankly, they are likely to basically bite in the wrong direction. What's happened is by trying to restrict exports of specific chips, number one, China retaliates by, and then pretty soon you get yourself into a trade war that's bad for people in both countries and around the world. But number two, what's happened for the U.S. tech industry is that Chinese firms have risen to the occasion and produced their own alternative chips. By all accounts, China is producing AI processing GPUs at record pace that are actually very, very good. China maybe has jumped into the lead on high bandwidth memory. And it's very likely that this trade war will actually solidify China's growing importance in the international tech sector. We just also got news yesterday that the Chinese trade surplus was a record high, over $900 billion trade surplus coming out of China. So it doesn't seem like these things are working. It doesn't seem like they're having the intended effect. They're likely to have the exact opposite effect. And frankly, to think that somehow the Trump administration is going to be any different from Biden on trade policy toward China, I think is just utterly ridiculous. I think we're in for more tariffs, more trade fights, and frankly, more success for Chinese technology.
I was thinking the same thing. You equate this to a tariff, right? Another form of restricting commerce. And that very much fits the Trump approach. And is it a negotiating weapon? Is it something that he actually implements? We'll see. But I don't see Trump rushing to save China anytime soon.
What does Elon say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Trump's extreme tariff plans is definitely not going to reverse the situation anytime soon. And absolutely, it is also not going to have the kind of crushing effect on the Chinese industry as one would expect.
Matter of fact, I think Trump can have Biden to thank for this. Biden's kind of taken the arrow by implementing this before he gets in office, and he can leave it alone and let it go through and not have to take it.
Biden did that when he came in office. He didn't rescind many of the tariffs on Chinese products.
Exactly.
Stephen, you mentioned that $900 billion surplus. That wasn't just with U.S., though. That was worldwide China's import-export. And I wonder how much of that is them buying Russian energy at below market prices so that Putin curries favor with the Chinese Communist Party, and then China's turning around and selling Russia needed goods and services for their war machine at premium pricing as well. So there's a lot of that. I think that goes into those numbers. I'd be interested to see in the U.S.-China market what the balance was, if it's gone up, down, or stayed about the same.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers on that, but there were some more details in this, and it's not just energy that drove this trade surplus. In fact, if you look at the growth of trade, it's been very, very steady since 2018. Essentially, in the first during the first Trump administration, the Chinese trade deficit fell, and then it rose and rose and rose, and has been rising throughout the pandemic and ever since. So. Another aspect of this, like we mentioned, this is global. This is not just China, U.S. Of course, our audience is global as well. Many countries around the world don't share the American administration's viewpoints on tariffs and restrictions on access to technology. And in fact, many of the countries around the world are very, very happy to import Chinese goods because they're increasing in quality. And in many cases, like with solar panels and electric cars, China is in the lead. In fact, the New York Times story about this trade deficit specifically focused on the export of Chinese electric cars around the world, which have been phenomenally successful. Anyone outside the U.S. is nodding right now because they're buying Chinese electric cars by the handful, whereas anybody inside the U.S. is like, what is a Chinese electric car? I never saw one because we don't have them here. But around the world, they're incredibly successful.
But let me let me just wrap myself in the flag here a second. If these cars are incredibly successful and being sold at below market or below cost and everything else
I
because
don't know
they're
that
being
anybody's saying they're being sold at below
subsidized.
cost.
Well, but these companies are being subsidized by the Communist Party there. Right? I mean, that's the key to it, is that
That's been the history.
that's their game plan. That's their model, right? They'll subsidize it until they grab enough market share and then, try to squeeze the profits out of it. So if you want to say, I'm not buying or I'm not going to allow Chinese electric vehicles in here because it's strategic that the US maintain their own electric vehicle market, that's one thing. You could agree
I
or
also
disagree.
wouldn't bet on the Trump administration taking that tactic.
Yeah. But if the cars are being done with forced labor, child labor, or subsidized by the Chinese Communist Party, I can understand why we would want to do that. That's all I'm
There's a
saying.
bit of irony here too. NVIDIA's stock price isn't hurting these days, as we
No.
all know.
Well, that's what you ask yourself too. Why is NVIDIA pushing back here? They don't want to give up that China market?
Well,
It's a
I'm
huge
sure they
market
don't.
for
I'm
them.
sure they don't. But the irony I wanted to point out was this coming on the heels of Jensen Huang saying the quantum market, their chips 10 to 15 years away, and quantum stocks drop, whatever it was.
Yeah.
What the drop.
Right now, he
15 to
definitely
20%.
put the kibosh on
So,
quantum.
he has his own influence on markets too.
Don't we
It's
all?
also interesting that Jensen is one of the only tech execs who hasn't publicly given to Trump's inauguration.
Really?
True. Yeah, that's true.
I heard they
At least
gave
not
out,
as of
they ran
today.
out of prizes to give to the people who, Stephen, you got any of those Tech Field Day coins left? Maybe we could send those to the people who give $1 million.
Yeah, if somebody donates $1 million to me, I will make you a special Tech Field Day coin.
Yeah.
Funny stuff. Anyway, hey guys, I think that's going to call a wrap on today's Techstrong Gang. Just heads up, again, head over to Predict 2025. If you're interested in what's going to happen this year, that's the place to go to.
Hey,
Predict 2025.
and my top 10 DevOps
Mitchell's there with his top 10.
at AI
DevOps.
and development.
Yes,
predictions.
that's
Don't
his
miss it.
session. Stephen has a session. Daniel Newman has a session. We've got people from Microsoft, from some of the other hyperscalers that we're not allowed to mention. Just a lot of good people talking good stuff there. Predict 2025. We'll be back tomorrow with a fresh gang. We've also got a ton of great Techstrong TV on here for you today. So check that out. Lots going on at Techstrong as always. But for now, this is Alan Shimel. On behalf of our gang today, thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. We're out.